Welcome to another battle report. This is 1850. 2 Wave Serpents with 10 Guardians each, 1 Wave Serpent with 5 Dire Avengers, 3 Shadow Weavers, 8 Warp Spiders, 2 units of Jet Bikes with Shuriken Cannons, 2 Hornets, and 2 Wraith Knights, 1 with a Sun Cannon, and then I have a Mantle Autarch with a Fusion Gun, Banshee Mask, Laser Lance on a Jet Bike. That's my list. So this is a rematch from a really short game that I played against this player at 1500 a couple weeks ago. This is 1850. He's got a Tech Marine with a harness on a bike. He's got a Chapter Master with a hammer, the Shield Eternal, a few other guys in there. I think it's Melta and Plasma. He's got an attack bike unit with heavy bolters and Melta. He's got 2 the Landspeeder Storms with the Scouts. One of them is going to be coming in with Scouts. One's empty. He's got a Storm Raven. He's got 2 Walkers with the las cannons, the missile launchers, a unit of Devastators, and then he's got a squadron of 3 multi-melta heavy flamer speeders. And then for an interesting twist, he has 5 units of 5 scouts. The missile launcher is just another sniper rifle. And he's using White Scars tactics. Alright, so here's the table, the terrain. Just a couple of ruins on the table. I think there's 2 on each end. The rocks in the middle there are open terrain, just blocking LOS. And we called, I know area terrain doesn't exist, but we called the little desert-looking things area terrain. Alright, deployment is finished. It's Purge the Alien with 3 objectives, 1 in the middle of the table. The other objective is in that ruin on the right there. It's where the Wraith Knight and the Shadow Weavers are starting. Jet Bikes are starting the way back. I got the Infiltrate Warlord trait, so I gave it to 2 units of Guardians and the Dire Avengers and pushed them up. I didn't infiltrate my Knights because you can't charge on turn 1 if you do that, and he doesn't have any drop pods, but versus like a drop pod army, I would really regret not being able to charge if I ended up on the bottom. He deployed his bikes way back in terrain, pretty far away. Both of the walkers in the ruins. There's 2 units of scouts in that ruin there. Actually, no, 2 is right there in the middle. It's not in the ruins. Alright, this is the end of turn 1. I pushed all the jet bikes over to the right side. Pushed the Autarch up. I had to score objective 1 there. Kept the Wave Serpents all together. I fired the shields off the 2 red ones. I kept the shield up on the tan one. I pushed the other Wraith Knight up into the building. He's sort of well hidden in there. I concentrated all of my shooting on the Scouts and the Devastators in the ruin near the bottom right there. And I think I reduced the Devastators to 1 guy, and I think the Scouts to 1 or 2. That was pretty much it for turn 1 for me. This is the end of turn 1. Really unsuccessful for the Space Marines all around. I did take a jank on the Wave Serpent in the middle there, just in case, because the shield was down. He fired at it with his lone Devastator and with his Dreadnoughts. Meltaguns from the bike squad, I think, were just out of range. I can't remember if they were or not, or what it was, but it was nothing happened to the tan Wave Serpent. The shield was up on it anyway, so I didn't jink, but didn't have anything to worry about. So I think I didn't take any casualties or any wounds from any shooting at all. The Dreadnoughts are pretty unsatisfying. Honestly, those guys should have like the missile launchers that Terminators get. He dropped his Ordnance Bombard thing here, but they made their saving throws. Alright, this is the end of the top of turn 2. I got a Hornet in, but deployed it conservatively on my end of the board. I didn't want to push it all the way down the table. I set up the Wraith Knight to feed him to the Chapter Master and the Tech Marine, because they can do some serious damage to them. I didn't want to lose Wave Serpents, though. shooting blew up one of the dreadnoughts, and I finished off the Devastator and the scouts that were wounded from the first round of shooting. I also dropped in my spiders conservatively because I couldn't think of a decent spot where they would survive on the other end of the board, and tried to bubble wrap my serpent to reduce the odds of a multi-charge with that big bike unit. And this says the serpent that jinked, it went flat out past the other serpent. Alright, that's the bottom of turn 2. Landspeeder Storm came in there, fired at my Hornet. I jinked successfully. His attack bikes came in the top left corner, but instead of shooting at the Wave Serpent that's sitting right there, they shot at the jet bikes. I thought he was going to try to clear the jet bikes off of the Wave Serpent so that he could multi-charge, but he did not do that. The scouts in the building there on the bottom left were ineffective, missing, and failing to wound at all, even with the 4-up. And then in close combat, he managed to take a wound off of the Wraith Knight, I think with a Melt-A-Bomb. And then over here in the top right corner, you see his other scouts outflanked, walked on the board, took some snapshots at the artillery unit, but failed to do anything to them, failed to hit. Here's a question: when you take Melt-A-Bombs, do you get a Melt-A-Bomb, one for the game, or do you get Melt-A-Bombs like one for every turn for the game? I didn't remember, and he didn't look it up, so he only had one Melt-A-Bomb that he used on my Wraith Knight. He did kill a couple of jet bikes. I jinked with both of them because he was shooting them with some AP stuff, and but they both made their morale checks and held, which was pretty awesome. And those are the results of the close combat. He did take a wound on his chapter master, but since he has the shield, the Eternal, he can't suffer instant death. This is the end of the top of turn 3. Sent my jet bikes back to my deployment zone to deal with the scouts. Reserve-wise, I got the other Hornet in. It's in the top right of the screen right there. I decided to send it after the Dreadnought. In the close combat, my Mantle Autarch made it in, issued a challenge. The Tech Marine took it, which is nice because it took him off of the Wraith Knight. Down in this corner here is why I really like Guardians over Dire Avengers if you have a few extra points, because when they get out, they have 20 shots apiece, so it was very easy to take out the attack bike squad. My Wraith Knight disappointed me by failing what I think was a 4-inch charge, which forced me to delay my plan and put me in jeopardy of losing that Wraith Knight without any serious compensation. The Tech Marine did wound my Autarch, but I made my invulnerable save. Alright, that's the bottom of turn 3. You can see a lot of reserves came in for the Space Marine player. Landspeeders came in, the Landspeeder Storm with the Scouts came in, Scouts disembarked. Storm Raven came in. On this end of the board, the Dreadnought shot at the Hornet and immobilized it where it sat, which wasn't too bad of an angle. I had stuff to shoot at there. I think I did also declare a jink. I can't remember if I did or not. Maybe I didn't. The Scouts continued to pretty much underperform terribly in terms of their shooting. The combat, finally the Chapter Master hit really hard, dropped the Wraith Knight down to 2 wounds. My Autarch hit and ran out of the challenge with the Tech Marine. I'm not sure if that's legal or not. I went and read up on it, and I think I can do that, so I did. The Scouts disembarked. They shot up the last remaining red jet bike, and then using their weird missile thing, they blinded the artillery. These 3 speeders that dropped in behind them managed to remove one of the guns. That was about it. This is the end of the top of turn 4. My plan worked for the most part. I brought in my Warlord Wraith Knight. Since he's a character, I could issue a challenge again. And In the meantime, the other Wraith Knight was free to stomp on a bunch of bikes, which was cool. Then the White Scars used their chapter tactics to hit and run out of that. After it was all over, I think only the Tech Marine and the Chapter Master survived. The Autarch pulled back. His shooting was ineffective against that Landspeeder Storm right there. Jet bikes, I moved out of the way. This Wraith Knight was left with 1 wound by the time the combat was over. And I think my Warp Spiders ended up in the building. Yeah, I think they shot up some of the scouts and then they consolidated into the building on the first floor there. This Wave Serpent is turning around to head back to my deployment zone to help out. Combined shooting with it and the jet bikes took out the scouts and that Landspeeder Storm that was there. And then shooting from both of these right here. The first one did nothing, but the second Wave Serpent is going to get a promotion as well because it penned and destroyed the Storm Raven, which was awesome for me. Alright, this is the end of turn 4. On this side of the board, the land speeders shot at my Autarch, jinked, but still took a wound from the heavy flamers, the templates. The scouts moved up and then made a pretty long assault against my guardians and the Shadow Weaver unit, easily beat them in close combat, and then swept them off the board. So that is their weakness, is assault for sure. But luckily for a couple of turns, they were tying up several hundred points worth of models, which is great. On this end of the board, the Chapter Master and the Tech Marine separated. The Chapter Master is in that ruin at the top of the screen there. He went after my Warp Spiders. After waiting patiently for them to flail at him, he squished, I don't know, 3 of them, 4 of them. Luckily, they made their morale check, and then they hit and ran and got out of combat. The Tech Marine went over and smashed the immobilized Hornet and blew it off the table. Alright, this is the end of the top of turn 5. Wave Serpents didn't do too much. I think I shot some scouts. I don't think I wasted any shots on the Chapter Master. One of them did take out the Landspeeder Storm that was in the center of the board. At the bottom of the board here, the Tech Marine shot the Hornet at him. He jinked. I don't think I even wounded him once in any case, so it's pretty ineffective. And then in the middle board and on the other side of the board, the Warp Spiders took out one of the land speeders there, forcing him to jink, and the Autarch set himself up for a very short charge against the scouts and easily defeated them with his Strength 6 AP3 laser lance. Alright, this is the end of turn 5 and the end of the game. Chapter Master made it into assault with my Wraith Knight and hammered him pretty hard. If the game had gone on, he may have even won. I was not able to wound him or get through his invulnerable. Over on the other side of the board there, the Tech Marine assaulted the Hornet and immobilized it, which is pretty funny considering he has the servo harness attacks. He only got 1 pen through and it was just an immobilized result. Here I kept these guys off of the objective a little bit to make sure that they wouldn't get it, and otherwise had a pretty easy time winning the game. There isn't too much to say on my part. I think I played pretty well and made decent decisions. I did want to say that the BAO Scenario 2 is by far my favorite. I think it does the best job of incorporating tactical objectives that complement the primary mission. They make sense, and they push you around the board and put you in situations where you have opportunity to come in contact and conflict with the opposing army. Very cool.